Okay, so I need to explain what that is because that was a little different from what most of you are used to. So that is my AI generated channel theme song for the plant propagator. And normally I have those just for members, and this is a members video that members get early access, and then I'm making it available to all subscribers of my channel after a little while. So this is a early access for members video. What I want to do today is share with you some more aspects of flasking, and I searched my channel for the word flasking in the title, and I already have 17 videos, so I have a lot. So do I need more? Well, I think I do. So this is yet another one on flasking. And what I've had, and I've showed you just physically how to do flasking, how to move, you know, how to take the plants from the flasks and put them in the potting mix, and how to care for them, and this and that. And I provided, I think, some good detail, but what I want to do today is provide yet additional detail. I'm going to refer back to my previous videos where there was good information, but I'm also going to follow up and include some new things. So the main thing is I have a previous video, where I said 6 things to do for successful deflasking. And that was a while ago. So I have some more things. I have 6 more things. So we're gonna kind of end up with a dozen. And I think you know, and so I'm presenting this to you because I think my seedlings look really good now when I deflask and when I grow them. And I'm real excited. I got a video coming up soon where I'm going to show you a blooming dendrobium, hopefully, that where we're going to see blooms within 2 years of flasking. So you know, the plants formed really, the seedlings were generated really quickly, and the care that was provided on deflasking was very good. It was big to start, but within 2 years, which I think is pretty remarkable. So I'm happy with that, and I'll show you that later, but right now I'm going to talk about the steps and what you need to really pay attention to. Now, when I do things, you know, there's a lot of things to keep in mind. And the difficulty is people usually remember the few things or the few top things, but I'm going to dump a lot on you today as far as what's important for, you know, for deflasking and really high survival and really vigorous growth of your seedlings. And so what I want to do is just to start out with the first thing, the most important thing, which isn't even on this list of 12, and that is getting good quality flasks. So this is one of my hybrids, and the plants they're pretty big here. So they're really big, and this is one of the most important things. I've seen people pay a lot of money for flasks where the plants are like this big, or whether you have a container that's like this, and then they can only get this tall in the container. But I like using these tall containers because the plants can get really big, and these are hitting the top of the containers. The roots are filling the bottom of the containers. You can see them all in here, and this is what I have. So as you look at all of these flasks, and I'm at home, and these are getting delivered this coming week, but all of these flasks are filled with nice looking orchids. So that's the most important thing that you have no control over unless you're flasking yourself, is to get really nice starting material. If you have good material, that's a good start. If you have crap, you're going to end up with crap, and that's how this works. It's going to take a lot longer. So if you have really small seedlings and flasks, and they don't grow well, and you can get them to grow well eventually, but these things are going to give you probably about, if you have bigger seedlings and flasks, it's going to give you a year jump on the smaller seedlings. So these are what my flask looks like, and actually this is these are 7 different hybrids that I have. So all of these things grow well. The dendrobiums even grow better. They'll fill the flasks, you know, to the top. So anyway, good quality starting material is good. My previous video, where I had 6 steps or 6 things for successful flasking. I'm going to read from that list and I'll put them up on the screen for you. Soak the bark mix in hot water to thoroughly hydrate, and what I like to use is Orchiata classic grade. Some people use sphagnum, some people use nothing. They just kind of put them on just to support, or they'll use a really chunky, a big bark mix. And Orchiata is really important to use. It has antifungal properties. I think the roots grab on and they just do nicely. When you deflask, rinse the orchids to remove the flasking medium. You want to make sure that all the flasking medium is gone, because what will happen is you'll get certain things will grow in the flasking medium, and that could have a negative effect on your seedlings. Don't let your plants dry out. The roots are very delicate. I have one video where I talk about just not damaging the roots when you deflask. So you've got to tease them apart. The roots in many of these things, because there are so many roots together, they're tangled. So you have to kind of tease them apart carefully. And plant the seedlings at the right depth. This is all from my previous video. You want to make sure that the roots are in the Orchiata, but you want to make sure that the crown of the plant, where the new roots come out, are at the top of the bark, so that you can see the new roots grow out, which allows you to gauge where things are in the deflasking process. Water and treat after planting. You know, that's one of the that's one of the important things, is that you can water them right away, and there are various treatments. So we'll talk about those in a little bit. So I use water, I use fertilizer, I use a mycorrhizal inoculum. I have a video where I just explained just on the use of the mycorrhizal inoculum, and I think that's beneficial. Maybe not initially, but a few weeks out. And so the other thing, the last thing on the 6, is weekly remove the standing water and water with fresh water. So it's important to do that. Open up the container, and I should say that the container that I use these tubs with tops on them. So you got to maintain things under high humidity. And these are just tubs they're Sterilite brand, but any tub will work. Make sure that the top that you have for these is a transparent top. And these tubs are what I use. They fit nicely underneath my lights, so that's what I use, and that's what works out well for me. And here's the top of the tub. So as you can see, it is, you know, it's not white, it's translucent. As these get old, they get a little cloudier, but still, as long as the light gets through, it's okay. And what I get with my containers, so I put this on and seal them. So what I get with my containers, this is what I use, and I keep them like this for a long time. So what are the 6 new steps that I'm sharing with you today? What I do, people ask me if they can put the tubs containing their deflasks orchids, you know, outside. Well, if you do, don't put them in the sun. I always keep my orchids at room temperature inside under LED lights. And that, I think, is important. I have a colleague who evaluated outside in his greenhouse compared to inside under lights. And he reported that inside, I haven't done the comparison, but this guy's a scientist, and he said inside under lights worked out better. The orchids looked a lot nicer. Inside, again, the environment is a little more controlled. Outside, you can get very hot, or you can get cold depending on where you're located. If you don't have an option, well, you know, that's fine. You gotta do outside, but no direct sun, you know, as consistent temperature as possible. And it'd be good if you had, you know, LED or fluorescent grow light type supplemental lighting. So, but I said, you know, number 1 for the additional step is inside under lights. One thing also is that I do keep my plants on the wet side. So people, you know, one of the problems with orchids is you can overwater and you can cause rotting. And if you use Orchiata, fresh Orchiata, and you follow these instructions, you're not going to have, it's going to be unusual for you to have rotting in your orchids. So I keep it on the wet side. I've seen a lot of orchid seedlings that get too dry. They're used to, in these containers, this is 100% humidity. These roots are in the medium, and so you want to keep things on the wetter side rather than on the drier side. So I pre-moisten my Orchiata. I make sure it's wet. I soak the Orchiata. That was in the first group of 6. I soak the Orchiata. I keep things wet, and then right after I deflask and put them in Orchiata in the bark, I make sure I water them. And you don't want to have too much standing water in these tubs, but it's okay to have just a little bit. You know, maybe an 1/8 or a 1/16 of an inch. It's on the wetter side as far as the moisture goes, and that's what you need to use. What I do to remove the once they're wet, it's good not to have the water stagnate for too long, so I'll remove the water and then replace it with fresh water or fertilizer or inoculate or something else. I used to use a pipetter in the laboratory, a manual pipetters. Actually, it's an automated battery-powered pipetter, and those cost a lot of money. And you make a mistake and you suck things up into the pipetter, and that's a huge economical mistake. So they're expensive. So I went out the other day and got a turkey baster, and that worked great. So you can pull the old water or fertilizer or whatever with a turkey baster. And so that's what I use. It works very effectively, very quickly, and that works really, really well. One of the other things, again, that I've been doing more recently is I'll use a mycorrhizal inoculant. I use Mycobliss, but there's other manufacturers of other types that work. I don't do it right away. I think when you're deflasking the orchids, it's enough of a shock, but soon afterwards. So I usually inoculate with the Mycorrhizae, and I have a video on that, usually at 3 to 4 weeks. Now, what this inoculation does is it's beneficial to orchids. In nature, all orchids have an association with a Mycorrhizae. These are lab-grown Mycorrhizae that are used to make a commercial mix, and it's unclear if any of these are specific are going to work better on orchids, but it does seem to help in my hands. And what it does is it colonizes these fungi colonize the roots, and you get enhanced water and nutrient uptake down the road, but it also competes with pathogenic organisms, and also may turn on, because it is a fungus that's associated with a plant, it may turn on a plant defense responses. So it may help immunize the plant against other pathogens that may come up. So I just like using it. It seems to work well for me. It definitely doesn't hurt. So I recommend doing that. The other thing that I do is that even though these guys are in medium, they're on a pretty rich medium, but I do fertilize after I deflask, not immediately. So usually after 2 weeks, so I'll use water initially, water after 1 week, but after 2 weeks, I use a weak fertilizer solution because they're starting to grow and they need to be fertilized. I don't fertilize every week, but then maybe every other week or something like that with a weak solution. They do need to be fertilized. They're actively growing at that point. They're photosynthetic. This lasts a little while. They've got enough nutrients here for a little while, but then it's a good idea to start using a weak fertilizer solution. All right, so the last thing is, on this second group of 6, or the 12th of the 12, is to maintain these seedlings here at high humidity for 2 to 3 months. And what I do is I've been going, and this runs contrary to what I used to do previously in the laboratory. So whenever I would do this with soybeans and I would generate those and put them in here, a month is all it took, but orchids grow very slowly. So I keep them under high humidity for 2 or 3 months. Now, what is that, 2 or 3? Well, you want me to tell you a precise time, and I'm not going to do that because the orchids will tell you when they're ready. So what you do is you take a look at these orchids, and some of these are ready and some of them are not. These are a mix of different orchids that I have, different hybrids. And so what you're looking for is the roots that are crawling over the top of the Orchiata. And once there's enough of them, and once it looks like they're ready, which means lots of roots crawling on the top, then they're ready. So whether this happens at 2 months or 3 months, or if you, and it's best if you can see another pseudobulb growing out of the orchid. So these orchids will normally just have a few leaves coming out of, but if you see a new pseudobulb growing out of these, or a new cane, if it's a dendrobium, that means they're ready. So they'll tell you when it's ready. None of this stuff is do this at this time, do this at this time, do this at this time. It's you have to look at the orchids even in here, and they'll tell you when they're ready. And when these guys are ready to be acclimated, outside, high humidity, take the lid off. That's fine. Some people don't even, if you live in a very humid environment, some people don't even put a lid on. But it's beneficial to do this. If you're dry, you've got to do it. If you got more humid, you may not have to, but I just think it's good to protect them, keep them covered, and keep them under high humidity for 2 or 3 months. I don't think you need more. I don't think it hurts to have more, unless you start noticing at that point maybe some rotting going on. I should also say that if you do see now, and what I get is very high survival. So I'll get, greater than 95% survival of these seedlings. The other thing is, I should let you know, I don't take the runts. So there's 25 orchids in each flask, and I'll take between 20 and 25. If there's some that are small, the runts just aren't worth fighting for. And so the better ones are the ones that are going to perform better, and these are the ones that are going to grow well. They'll put out the roots, and they'll put out the new pseudobulbs, and they'll work fine. But again, it's a little bit of a slow process, and it'll take, again, 2 to 3 months before you should take the lid off and acclimate these and put these outside and have these start growing. But once they're ready, especially if you've got high humidity conditions, these things, this has been, I'm looking at my date, this has been 2.5 months, and these I think are ready, so I could put these outside and they'll be fine. They'll grow, and they tend to do well. All right, so that's all I have for today. I hope I didn't go on too long. Hey, and did you see I got orchids on my screens? Anyway, if you enjoyed my video and you want to keep on seeing them, it would help me out if you can click on like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you're not already a subscriber. And if you're not yet a member, I'm happy to have you join, so you can click on join and join my channel as a member for a small fee for some additional perks. All right, again, I hope you enjoyed my video, and happy propagating.